Welcome to CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean the CRM Hobbit Tabor. This episode of CRM Audio is sponsored by Alexa CRM. WordPress powers more than 25% of all the websites on the internet and is the number one choice for blogs, websites, and portals because it's open source, simple to use, reliable, and extendable. Dynamics CRM has become a de facto standard in sales, marketing, customer service, and industry solutions. Now they can work together thanks to the Dynamics CRM WordPress plugin built with love by the Alexa CRM team. Capture forms, engage your users and customers, all without writing any code. Control your site in WordPress, keeping your data in CRM. To build the plugin, Alexa CRM has created an open-source Dynamics CRM PHP toolkit, unlocking the world of Dynamics for PHP developers. Download your 30-day trial from alexacrm.com/plugin and instantly create a portal by connecting your CRM and WordPress site. We thank Alexa CRM for their sponsorship of CRM Audio. It's episode 50, guys.
Huzzah!
That's 48 more episodes than they thought we'd get.
It's halfway to 100.
Yeah, to the centennial episode.
We're doing weekly, so 52 is the round number.
Right, we're doing fortnight, so...
Sorry, fortnightly, so 52 would be the round number.
Oh,
right,
okay.
So that must mean we're almost to our second anniversary. So.
How's that for deflating?
Yeah, well, it's still, it's something.
Sure.
Anything for a milestone.
Exactly.
George, have you ever considered writing greeting cards?
I actually did, but not the greeting cards. I actually have the idea of just the opposite.
Condolences?
Breakup cards. It's like everything there to help people, meet, fall in love, and I love you, and you're my best friend, and blah, 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 and schmoopsy poo, and all that other stuff. But, majority of people end up breaking up, right? You try things, it doesn't work out, you break up, and there's nothing out there to help you with that, right? Go find the card which helps you to break up amicably and, with the smile on your face, and everyone goes on their way. No, there's nothing there. It's like, screw you, see you next life. That's... So yes, I have thought about this, but to help people keep smile on their face whilst they're being assholes.
Oh, jeez.
So this sounds like the "it's not me, it's you" card service.
Hey, it's Daryl LaBar.
Yes.
Welcome,
Correct.
Daryl. How are you doing?
Welcome. How you doing, guys?
And actually, Daryl, my one of the top 10 cards would be "You're not a real developer."
Of course not.
I only date real developers. Yep.
Yeah, and that's on the inside. Of course not. When you open it up, inside there will be, of course not.
All right, so let's start with the news. What's the news other than the monumental 50th episode of CRM Audio Podcast? Flow.
All right, then we can talk about how Microsoft rolled out new features for Flow and for Power Apps, and one of those is for approvals.
Yes. So this is one, again, if you've listened to the podcast, originally we had some just where does this flow thing fit in? And one of the big things was approval workflows, which now have authentication with Azure AD. So imagine, if you will, you have a process in Dynamics or some other place where you have an approval necessary. One of the things I've always found with Dynamics out of the box is approvals are kind of kludgy. If you have something that the sales manager has to sign off on, sure, you can send them a workflow and have them log into a record and check a box and save it, but it's not a smooth process. Having looked at this but not played with it, This idea intrigues me because we have had clients who built out external processes in SharePoint. Some have used somewhat expensive tools like K2 and others to have this kind of more smooth notification/approval process. And this to me seems like something that, again, time will tell how well it works. But I can see that as a great scenario working with Dynamics.
Hold on. How's it different from what was already there when you can send email and a recipient of the email will have, and you can supply choice of, let's say, Joel, will you attend the conference? And I would supply answers as yes, no, maybe. So you will get 3 buttons or 3 links that look like buttons in your email that you can click, and the answer will be recorded back in the flow. How approval is different from that?
A couple things. I already mentioned it integrates with Azure AD, but secondly, it's got an approval center. So you get an approval button, you get an approval email, you have a link, you can go to your approval center and see all your waiting things. So as opposed to, as I understand it, getting one email that you then can click a link and say, yes, I'm going to the meeting. This is that, but just enhanced and more of a polished UI for it, where you're not just, if you lose that email, you don't lose that approval.
Consider, George, if you have, I have a project in flight right now where one of the requirements was a multi-level approval process. And that was not something that we could just do with a simple email. So something like this. Well, SharePoint wouldn't work for them for this customer. So given the ability of this flow, I could not only have visibility into my approvals that I have pending, which was a requirement, but it gives me the ability to move that from level to level quite easily. Whereas in my current project, I had to create a whole matrix structure and entity structure to make that happen. So,
right. So
I like this a lot.
In the new experience, when you get an approval email and you hit the approve button, if you have the Flow app on your phone in iOS or Android or Windows Mobile, it will launch the app to the approval screen and will show you, you confirm your approval, but it'll also show you other requests that are waiting for you. So again, it's just taking it, and you could build something like that easily, but this is something that the framework's there and can be leveraged with Dynamics or other applications.
Is there an API? Speaking of being developer or not, is there an API to go with that so you can kind of see with the developer's eyes if there are approvals are there and list of your current approved things or not approved things and this kind of thing. Is it there?
I'm not sure on that yet.
I'm asking the wrong people. Daryl, would you know?
Jeez, here we go. But I think, especially the mobile component for manufacturing firms where you have certain limits to where dollar limits that you can approve, having those be able to be accessible on a mobile device gains a ton of efficiencies over even just emails, because you may or may not look at your email all the time on your device when you're in a meeting, but if you have a specific app that you can go to for your approvals, it makes it much easier, and it doesn't get lost if you read an email and then go away from it. It doesn't bring it back up front. Whereas with something like an approval center, you have those front and center.
Well, speaking of APIs, one of the other announcements was the new enhancements to the custom API experience for Flow. Now, I don't think this is exactly what you're talking about, George. This is if you have a RESTful API service that you want to call from Flow, you can do this. I don't think this is an API for the Flow process.
I understand. Well, what can I say? In the environment where we have to wait for 5 years to get a not-in operator in the query, I guess the approvals in the Flow make the top news. Yes.
Well, and another component to this, and Daryl, you were just talking about this. They've also added a team flow capability to where if a flow is owned and managed, it can be owned and managed by a group of people as opposed to a single person. So if someone leaves the firm, you still have the ability to maintain that flow. It doesn't get abandoned for all intents and purposes.
And that gets to something that I said early on when I first looked at it, was I had these visions of using this for more group processes rather than just individual process. But originally, it felt very much just like the power user or the IT pros tool to automate his or her life, which it still kind of is. But with the team aspect, it may be getting more to where you want these more group processes or system processes, if you will, that are used by a number of people. So that's a good thing too.
There's also some, for the developers out there, there's also some new Power App capabilities as well. You can, you just talked about this, didn't you? The REST API, that you could submit the connector to Microsoft. The other item for Power Apps is the entity form control. You can add forms to applications, button improvements, those kind of things.
Okay. What's the next story?
The next story is we have Microsoft taking Wunderlist to ToDo. So what does that mean?
It means that once again Microsoft is buying a beloved app and then basically rebuilding it.
Correct. But now, okay, so I happen to like Wunderlist as well. Can it be that task, mobile task center that I think everybody has been kind of wanting? Because Outlook tasks, if you don't have the Outlook app, tasks kind of get lost, for me anyway. I don't like the Apple reminders.
Apple reminders is terrible.
Yeah, I don't like those at all. When I had an Android for a little while, I didn't like those either. So, can this be the component for tasks and have that integration to Office 365 and Dynamics that a lot of people have been looking for?
Right. Well, the big thing that I saw is ToDo will be integrated with Outlook tasks. So by default, it's also integrated with Dynamics because Dynamics syncs to Outlook and Exchange tasks. So I see that as a positive. I mean, right now I've got a flow to tie our stories together. I've got a flow set up that when a task is assigned to me in Dynamics, it creates it in Wunderlist, but they're not really synced in that if I complete it in Wunderlist, I don't have it complete the same task in Dynamics. Maybe I could do that. I don't know. I just haven't spent the time to figure out a way to do that. So so it's a good thing. I think people like Wunderlist because it's kind of a personal project management tool. If you look at it, it goes beyond tasks because I can add files, I can add comments, I can collaborate with people much more than I can do with standard Exchange tasks. And so if they keep that functionality, then that's great. If they have is easy to organize or even better, I'm for it. But I got to imagine, a tear running down the cheek of Neil Benson. I just think, there may be something lost here, and but again, we'll wait and see. I'll be giving the preview a try out here. There is interestingly no automated migration or sync. There is an export import process, but again, I'll be trying that out and try it before our next episode, and I'll report back. Daryl, what do you use for task management? Do you use Wunderlist?
I use hardly anything. I use a lot of other people to help me do my task management for me. But primarily for work stuff, it's primarily just through email. I just keep whatever emails, and I have a near zero inbox email mentality, and I have 2 or 3 things in there. Those are the things I need to be working on, and I might schedule an appointment for something to remind myself later, but that's about it.
Daryl's got only one task on his list: do your job.
Exactly.
All right, so I put the last thing on the list, and and that was the export service. Not so much of a news item, but we've been really putting the export service through its paces. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. I really like it. I'm finding that, and I believe, Sean, you've used it quite extensively on one of your projects too. What have you found?
It's worked extremely well. We've been using it mainly to integrate to business intelligence for reporting purposes, and the interface from Dynamics 365, the ability to create the objects to sync, the sync process, all of that has been really surprisingly simple to be able to manage, and really effective for the client. So I've been very happy with it.
Have you seen any synchronization failures?
Only when we did not have something correctly set up right. So that was on us, but nothing outside of something that was our own misconfiguration.
So it's interesting. They have added a preview feature, a button that says resync failed records. And it's a preview feature, so I don't know how widely available it is. But basically, that allows the customers to recover when synchronization failures happen. Kind of an on-demand, make-it-right button. And I'm just wondering, I haven't heard from my clients who are using it that we see a lot of First of all, how do you know when you see synchronization errors? Is there a log that tells you these are the records that failed, or does it automatically retry to a certain amount? Do you know?
Well, the team that gets it reports it to us, so I haven't seen it specifically myself, so I can't really say.
Okay,
I believe a log's generated, but I haven't seen it myself.
If it happens, there's a button now.
Nice, very nice.
But
I'm
I
always
wonder,
for button.
like in general, when you have an application that potentially can generate errors, like data export service, and then you add button that says resync failed records, and let's assume that this button actually does nothing.
Okay.
And you do a survey before and after this button, the user satisfaction. I can put $10 down that user satisfaction will go up after this button appears there, even though it does nothing.
So you're saying that's the data export version of the close elevator button?
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's. Something was about that I saw recently. It's the sign on the door, keep close at all times, and people were making fun, like if you follow this instruction, how are you supposed to get out? Here you have it. It's I suppose we kind of in the low news territory where to-do list makes the news kind of week.
Well, I mean,
waiting.
It's an important thing, though.
No, well, for some people, I suppose, yeah. Well, Daryl wasn't amused as you saw. So
oh my God.
Get over your Wunderlist.
There we go.
You've been dancing on it, guys, for years. So
there we go.
All right.
What I'm saying is we all waiting, I suppose, for the spring wave.
Well, yeah, and it's
for the avalanche of smashing features.
Won't it be summer by that time happens?
It's going to be winter here, so I don't know what you're talking about. But
All right, so Daryl came on because, well, first of all, Daryl, you've provided us with a couple or several tips of the day lately, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, they come in spurts.
I think yours come usually when you get stuck on something, right?
Yep.
Which we appreciate. We appreciate you having the problems for us so we don't have to have them.
Yeah, I get to do all the bleeding, and you guys get to enjoy all the work from it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
let me get my screen wipers to wipe out all the blood. We were discussing different environments, and Daryl tipped something on the callbacks on JavaScript. I pointed out that his sample has cute syntax that is not going to fly in Internet Explorer 11. And Daryl said that might be and kind of to the tune that I don't care because I don't write JavaScript. I make TypeScript to generate JavaScript for me. So the whole conversation started around TypeScript and the use of it. And I said, why don't Daryl comes along and talks to us? Because that seems to be, after listening to the some people from the development team from Microsoft during the latest conference, that seems to be the future in general, the future direction. That's where the JavaScript is going in general. So to put it slightly in perspective is that Microsoft internally, they developed a language called Script Sharp. Basically, that's ability. They develop ability. You write a C# code that gets compiled, can be compiled into JavaScript as well. And this is exactly the language they've been using to deliver business rules functionality on the back end and on the front end as JavaScript. But then people who developed that saw the TypeScript coming along, and they said, well, we're going to use that from now. So I'm curious to hear what the TypeScript is, because I don't know it. I know of it, but I don't know TypeScript itself. And I'm interested to hear Daryl, as the person who uses, sounds of it like day in, day out. I'm interested to hear what it's all about, what the noise is all about, and is it indeed the future, and is it indeed the solution to all the JavaScript problems?
The short answer to that is yeah. It's a great tool to resolve a lot of issues that a lot of developers have when they first get started doing any front-end JavaScript development.
So what it is, let's step back. Otherwise, all our episodes would be like 5 seconds long. TypeScript is so. Is TypeScript going to solve the problems? Yes. Thank you very much. That's the end of episode 50.
Yes.
Can we just step back and tell people what TypeScript is? To start with, and if I'm JavaScript developer, where I'm going, is it easy? Is it difficult to learn for me? How do I move there?
Yeah. So I'll tell a little bit of my story, and hopefully that will help others that are maybe looking to go down that route as well. So my story is much more of a back-end developer rather than a front-end developer, which was kind of nice in the CRM world because I didn't have to do a lot of front-end stuff. But as we got into bigger projects, we started to do more and more, and I kept on getting more and more scared of JavaScript because I could write it, but then I couldn't maintain it because I'd want to make a change to it, and I have no idea what this touches or anything else. And so it was always very scary in that sense. So, but TypeScript itself, if I back up a little bit farther, there was created by Anders Harsberg. He's the lead architect for C# and also the creator of Delphi and Turbo Pascal. So huge name in the Microsoft development community. So he's kind of the creator of it. It's open source. It's on GitHub. I just recently had a bug that I submitted that it's getting fixed in a new version of it. So you can make changes and do pull requests, all that kind of fun stuff. But when it comes down to it, really what it is TypeScript is a syntax that adds typing to JavaScript, but only when you need it. And when I say only when you need it, basically every single JavaScript file that's ever been created is a TypeScript file. You could take your project as is, and you can go ahead and rename all of your JavaScript files.js in your Visual Studio or in your VS Code, and you can rename them to .ts, and everything will work just like it did before. So that's one of the huge features it has. It's immediately you can start using it day one and start doing parts of it. You don't have to rewrite everything or wait when you start a project from scratch. You can take what you have and just start using it little by little and adding a little bit of that typing whenever you want to add it. So that's kind of the origin of TypeScript or where it's at, and it makes it very easy for people that are used to more of a typed environment and being able to know what is this I'm passing into this, what is this I'm passing out of this. That really adds that syntax for you to be able to get that information.
So my question then is, for somebody who is not a real developer, and that's on my business card actually now, since George has said it to teach me so much. I have, Joel Lindstrom, consulting principal, and not a real developer. Anyway, if you are learning this, if you're a newbie developer, is it the kind of thing, do you need to know JavaScript to start learning TypeScript? It's kind of like you should learn to drive a manual transmission before you learn the automatic, or is it you could just start learning TypeScript?
It's going to be the same amount of pain to learn TypeScript as it is to learn JavaScript if you've never done it before. So, because it's basically this, it's very, very similar. It looks almost exactly the same. The snippet that I gave George was written in TypeScript, but I didn't tell him that. I just pasted it in, and it's like, oh, that syntax isn't valid in IE. Well, no, it's not, but it's going to be valid, and it's valid in Edge, and it's valid in the newer browsers, and that's because TypeScript will actually transpiles the technical term. So it takes the script that you write and it transpiles it to the actual JavaScript itself.
TypeScript is a superset, right, of the JavaScript. So any JavaScript is valid TypeScript file. And
Correct.
Then TypeScript is compiled to JavaScript.
Correct.
Now, how easy it is to actually do your development inside the life cycle of CRM. That is, currently you put JavaScript as a resource file. Is it possible to do, for example, to store a resource file as a TypeScript and make who's doing compiling? Who's going to do the compiling?
Yeah. So the way that that we do it, or that my team does it, is that we do all of our development in Visual Studio, and each time we save, it compiles the TypeScript into JavaScript, and then we use the Web Resource Manager plugin from the XRM Toolbox, and select it shows the JavaScript files that you've actually created, and when you select those, there's an option in the settings to include what are called map files. So it includes map files. It also, when you select that, will also include the TypeScript file itself. So when you say, I want to deploy this JavaScript file I changed, it'll actually deploy that JS file, the map file associated with it, and a TypeScript file. Now what that map file does is it allows you to debug in your browser TypeScript, even though you're actually running JavaScript. The map file will convert the differences between the JavaScript file to the TypeScript file, and you can actually debug in TypeScript. It's not a perfect... Yeah, it's really, really nice.
That's really nice. Now, the one thing, what I would expect if TypeScript is indeed the future, the time will tell, that wouldn't we expect at some point in the future Dynamics 365, or it's going to be 366 by then, I'm not sure, but wouldn't we expect at some point in the future TypeScript to be a native format? So you wouldn't compile it. You just store TypeScript as a resource, and it will be compiled on the fly as needed.
If you really wanted to do that, you could do that right now on your own. There are in-browser compilers for TypeScript, so you could theoretically wire it and do that if you wanted to. Yeah. But no, I don't. I mean, so when I say TypeScript's the future, everything is still JavaScript at the end of the day. And so it's still JavaScript is the future, but we just create it all with TypeScript, and we never look at the JavaScript. I mean, how many people are programming in assembly these days? Like hardly anybody, unless they're like a low-level driver person. Everyone else is using a high-level language because it's much more productive. And that's what TypeScript is going to, although it has the beautiful part of really being a very fluid. If you decide all of a sudden that, hey, I don't want to worry about typing, I just want to use this JavaScript thing, and I know it's magic, and TypeScript ignore it, it'll totally let you do that on a line-by-line basis if you want to.
Okay. So how do you work putting types in? Like, for example, Dynamics 365 has specific types. And I know in C# when I'm writing, I'm bringing the assemblies in, SDK assemblies in, and suddenly by magic I've got data types like money that corresponds to the money field. So how do you tell TypeScript I've got this magic money thing?
So there is a GitHub project, GitHub project out there called Definitely Typed, and anybody in the world can go ahead and submit type definitions. So you have TypeScript files themselves, and then you can also just create a type definition, which is separate from the JavaScript file, but gives the typing for that file. And so that way, if you just wanted to add some type definitions and you don't actually own the library, you can go ahead and do that and get your full IntelliSense and your full typing experience doing that.
So you're saying we already have this definitely typed?
Yes,
for,
we already have the XRM library. We already have typings for I think 6.0 up to current day. It's in there already.
Brilliant.
There's also another. Yes, so you can get that. You can install it in npm if you use Node Package Manager. You can go ahead and install that just by doing the @types/xrm. I think it's just xrm. I think we'll actually do it. But that you can go ahead and bring that in your project. You can download it directly if you want to. Either whatever way works for you, you can do that. You can also install it via NuGet if that's something you're using instead. So it's very flexible whatever way you're doing it. But they all go back to that definitely typed. There's also a really interesting library from Delegate. It's called XRM Definitely Typed. And what it does is it actually downloads your metadata for all your forms. And then it gives you typed metadata for your attribute calls in your CRM forms. So a really easy thing to do in CRM is to say, hey, go ahead and set this value of this attribute, and the value is a lookup, and you forget that you need to give it a logical name or an ID. You forget that you can't just give it a string value. And it will prevent you from...
That sounds like definitely something that everyone should be using. The only thing I can imagine, the next thing would be like add a bit of machine learning or Cortana intelligence to it. So you say, Cortana, make this field invisible. And it just spits out the TypeScript code for you.
That wouldn't be too hard to do, probably.
How do you go? So we covered debugging. So you're good to go with the debugging with .map files, so you can natively debug. How you go about testing your code? So I know in JavaScript there are a couple frameworks for testing. I'm not a big fan. They feel a bit clumsy. What's the story with testing in TypeScript?
So actual unit testing in TypeScript is really just unit testing in JavaScript. I use Jasmine, and I actually just run it in the browser for now. But yeah, you never actually run the TypeScript. You're running the JavaScript as it's been compiled. So anything you want to do JavaScript testing, you just go ahead and use it because it's just compiling from TypeScript to JavaScript and then do your testing.
And when it comes to developing things like I want to call web API. Does it make your life easier? Are there any libraries to help you with? Or is that as painful as it would be without TypeScript? So is there anything to help you to deal with the web API? Yes.
Again, the Delegate solution, they have one out there for Web API, XRM Query. It also will go through and give you IntelliSense for that. It gives it much more kind of link syntax. I personally use the other Dave Yak's CRM Web JavaScript libraries, and I developed and gave him the TypeScript definition files for that. And so at least that helps for the actual method calls, but I'm still copying in the actual logical names for the values I want to actually call and the attributes I want to return back. But at least all the actual data structure of the entity it's expecting and all the information is already typed for me.
So so do you find with TypeScript, what's I guess the biggest value? Is the biggest value you can do it faster? It's more consistent with other development methods.
There's a couple of advantages. I believe that the personal experience for me for creating it for a developer is faster. But the other thing that's huge is that you get to use the brand new latest features of JavaScript, of ECMAScript, and use them now today, even though they're not compatible for IE 11. So besides having to polyfill a promise, which basically means promises for programming is a way to be able to call something back after you've completed it. So you make a request to the server, you let the page do some other stuff, and then once it's got the request back, it will process it for you. IE doesn't support that in the browser. It's part of the standard, but IE 11 doesn't do that. So you just polyfill that one part of it, and then you get to use async await even, which is something that's fairly new even to the C# side of the world, where you can await this asynchronous task and then use it, and it looks just like the synchronous code, which is way, way easier for a developer. So it's faster to develop. You're going to have development that is much easier to read and maintain, and you also get to play with the newest and greatest standard in JavaScript today, because it gets compiled down to a version that's compatible with whatever version that you want to point to. So if all of a sudden they drop support for IE 11 for CRM, and like, great, I don't have to worry about all these old things. You can change the TypeScript to compile to a newer version, and it'd clean up the syntax for you. You wouldn't have to go through and manually touch any of that stuff.
Okay, so you convinced us. So we Sean and I are not real developers yet. We want to become. Yep. So where should Sean go to learn more? Where's the best place to go to learn TypeScript?
So the easiest place is to go to the TypeScriptAlang.org, and then there's a little link at the very top that's Playground, and you click on that, and it shows on the left there's different things you can select, but on the left is the TypeScript, and on the right is the JavaScript, and you can go ahead and start testing and playing around with the TypeScript on the left, and you can see what it looks like compiled in the JavaScript on the right. And it's very, very similar. So that means that if you're a JavaScript developer, it's very, very easy to just figure out, oh, this is the syntax for typing this, and you're on your way. Another thing that's very helpful, it was for me at least, was Resharper built in the Visual Studio, or the plugin for Visual Studio. That helped me a lot to learn how do I do the syntax, because I'd always do things wrong. Oh, you should do it this way. Oh, you should do it that way. So for a brand new developer looking to do that, Resharper is great for that.
Resharper?
Resharper. Yeah, it's a Visual Studio plugin, and it
for code cleanup and validation.
Code cleanup validation. It does a lot of things that says, hey, you're doing it this way. You could do it this way. It would be better or easier, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Hold on, I had one question to Daryl about the future, of course. You mentioned Node, NPM and Node, which is typically words associated with the server-side JavaScript, not necessarily client-side as we're used to it. So, as I understand, you can deploy TypeScript code, you can use it in, for example, Azure Functions, in web jobs and things like that. So you can write server-side code. Now, do you see at some point in the future we should be able to extend CRM on the server side using Node? In addition to, so currently it's C# that gets compiled. Because we're running inside IIS, so we create plugins and workflow extensions using C# as language that gets compiled to assemblies that get uploaded and so forth. Do you see at some point in time extensibility model for the server using a Node?
I don't know if I necessarily see that, just because you can do a lot of things in JavaScript that you can't do in C# that the team prevents you from doing. Like in C#, if you go deploy a plugin and you attempt to use reflection to go look up some information that's not public by default, you can't do that. The sandbox prevents you from doing that. So I'm not sure.
That's for your own safety.
That's for your own safety and the safety for the rest of the org. Yeah, that you're in, that farm that you're in. So yeah. So I'm not sure if I see that happening, but it would probably take a pretty strong push from a lot of people in order to have that actually show up. So I don't see that happening anywhere in the near future.
Okay, because that would be neat, because that would mean you can really write the same code and make it run on both client and the server. Currently, we do have models, like I mentioned, Azure Functions, that allow you to step out of your sandbox into the world of Azure, infinite scalability, and then you can run your Node.js and whatever code comes along. So, but would be neat to have the model that is symmetrical and gives you ability to run the same code, like same validation or data validation, and you say you can pick and choose and say, I want to run this code on the client or on the server. That would be really, really neat. That's the promise of the, currently it's a promise of actions. Sorry, not actions. So when you define business rules. So what they used to be called, PBLs, business rules. That's the promise, right? So when you scope it to the entity, you get the same behavior on the server as you do on the client. Would be nice to have the same capabilities as part of the language.
That would be nice, but right now I'm just waiting for business rules to be able to trigger the on-change event so I can work JavaScript on the client side that's triggered by business rules. But no, still can't do that.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 65 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various application systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, NAV, GP, SL, as well as many other applications such as Marketo, Dropbox, QuickBooks, and Salesforce. Whether you need one solution or several, KingswaySoft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration process as quick and easy as possible. Many of their clients have seen 3 to 10 times greater data integration performance after switching to the SSIS integration toolkit.
Can we just pause for a second? I completely forgot when we were talking about the news about Windows Creator Update. That kind of doesn't affect us directly, but I've been blown away by the new release of Edge browser, and I'm seriously thinking switching my to Edge as my primary browser. I've been jumping from Firefox to Chrome and back, but now Edge is twice as fast. It's faster than Firefox, in fact, now.
Yeah, I'm almost there with you. There's still one or two things that I can't do with it. You know, one is sync bookmarks. Every other browser, i.e. Firefox and Chrome, lets me use things like Xmarks to so whatever browser I use has the same bookmarks, and Edge doesn't have that yet. Now I'm hoping that the extension, somebody like Xmarks, which I guess is a LastPass app, adds the Edge option to it, and just some other things I'm still finding even in the Creators Update just don't work as well. But I'm close. I like it as well.
Yeah, and the other bit, I haven't explored 3D Paint yet. But the other bit from Creator Update I set up and I use it. You can pair your Surface Book with your phone using Bluetooth. And once they're paired, you can tick the box and say lock and unlock computer automatically when I'm near it with my device. So now with the phone in my pocket, I can walk away from my computer and it will lock automatically. And when I come back, and I'm near my computer with my phone, it will unlock automatically as well.
So Daryl mentioned Resharper as his tool recommendation. George or Mr. Tabor, do you have any tool recommendations this week?
I do. It's
you go, George.
It's a strange tool to recommend, but these days it's a must-have. I recommend that everyone drop whatever you're doing, take your device, and download and install Microsoft Authenticator. So and enable two-factor authentication on all your services that support two-factor authentication. So and the funny thing is that with two-factor authentication is that it's not supported on Windows Phone. So it's iOS and Android. But the nice thing...
That was my tool as well.
Yeah, if you've got Windows 10, then you're good to go without it because Windows 10 is a two-factor system anyway with Windows Hello. But if you've got Windows 7 or Windows 8, then you can now use Microsoft Authenticator to enable two-factor on your machine. Anyway, there are a couple of authenticators. There's a Google Authenticator. It's basically used to be around for a long time. The authentications used to be a physical tokens, like Citibank would give you this physical token generator that would do two-factor authentication. Now you can do it with your phone. And I'm saying everyone just get yourself two-factor enabled. Daryl, do you use two factors?
I haven't had to deal with that a whole lot, but I do it personally for my Google account, so that way I can make sure that no one can get into it.
It's a good thing. If you have an Apple Watch as well, it works with the Apple Watch app, and that's they've enhanced it this week actually. So your personal accounts, you can enable phone authentication basically, so that you access it. It pops up on your wrist or on your phone. You click a button. I started Skype this morning. It popped up. I hadn't signed into Skype on my one computer for a while. It popped up on my wrist. Choose the number that's on your screen, and it helps you with CRM too if you use the mobile app with multiple environments, because it remembers multiple Office 365 personas. So it really makes it helpful if you reconfigure or repoint the mobile app, not having to remember all the URLs and everything.
Yeah, I've used it. I've used that a lot
with Google and Facebook too. So it's very helpful.
Yeah, I've used the Microsoft Authenticator a lot with client implementations, jumping back and forth between client environments on the mobile device. Makes it very easy to log in and out.
The one thing, I've got another authenticator. I've got LastPass Authenticator as well on my phone. The nice thing about LastPass Authenticator is that it's thumbprint enabled. So when it pops up on my phone, all I have to do is to put thumb to it, and which makes it, on the other hand, useless if someone gets hold of my thumb.
Well, actually, when I did the Skype thing, it was thumbprint enabled for that as well. So
basically, the advice is use Authenticator. Would it be Microsoft, Google, LastPass? What's not? Use two factors. Use it where you can. These days, you can't be too safe.
Right. So
real quick, last tool I would recommend. There's two of them on XRM Toolbox: Attribute Manager and Early Bound Generator, both created by our guest Daryl LaBar. Check them out.
Absolutely.
I'll add XRM
to that book.
Yep, go ahead.
I want to add to that there's a new one that's out for there's an entity relation diagram creator. So if you want to get ERD, there's a tool for that for the toolbox as well that came out this week.
Have you used that?
I used it. I used it this morning. Is
better?
Yes.
Is it better than the one in the SDK?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
And
I'm excited about that.
One new tool for those of you dealing with the portals. Tangi released a built-in one, so to speak, native tool, Liquid, to manage your Liquid code with syntax highlighting. So it goes in, pulls out your portal stuff from web forms and templates and stuff like this, allows you to manage your Liquid template in language, and it does syntax highlighting as well. So you can now manage your Liquid snippets inside XRM Toolbox as well.
So tell me what is better with the going back to the ERD generator? What is better about the XRM Toolbox version than the one in the SDK?
I don't have to leave XRM Toolbox.
And you don't have to compile it.
Okay, but I mean, is there anything? I mean, it basically does the same thing. It's just you can do it from XRM Toolbox without compiling anything.
I have not touched the external tool for like 5 years, so I wouldn't know what the current status is.
All right.
It's better. Take my word for it.
So let's do a quick rundown of the last week in CRM Tip of the Day. If you haven't been following Tip of the Day, this is what you missed. So on Monday, we had a tip about if you mess up your sitemap and can't get in the system, you can go directly to the solution import link and import it from there and save your bacon. On Tuesday, I followed through with my promise to start reviewing the reviewers of the mobile app. And what I found is in the one I chose today is this person, if they had read CRM Tip of the Day 4 years ago, they would be fine. It was like tips 4 and 5 answered their questions. It's amazing. Then we had a tip from George that if you have duplicate columns labels in your view, it can screw up your Excel export.
Yes, it can.
Did that trip you up in real life, George?
Yeah, it's funny enough. Sometimes I do the real work. So, and when I do, tips start coming along because that's. You can tell who's been doing the real work by the number of tips they've been submitting. Something like Joe went quiet since he changed his title, but now he's back. It sounds like Joe's back in the saddle doing some real work. Tips are flowing.
Talking to people.
And I was on vacation, so we'll see more tips from me next week.
And then Thursday, we had, basically a tip related to the last Power BI podcast, talking about how to dynamically filter CRM data from your Power BI. And then to wrap it up on Friday, Friday's post is about how to plan your offline filters. And what it is a helpful kind of spreadsheet matrix, really simple, but useful for when you're planning out what should we take offline, what records should be offline, should we have all records, my team records, just kind of a decision matrix that you can use to plan through it, and also provided some rules of thumb to use as you plan that out. Things like don't take all activities if you don't have all accounts. Usually accounts and activities and notes, you just get the related ones and you'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Brilliant.
test and tweak.
One small plug, if I can. It's related to Daryl being here, someone with the good, solid dev experience, doing some real development work, unlike myself, for example. You know what they say, those who can't do teach, so that's me. And then Mr. Hobbit expressed some desire to dip the toes into development deep hand. And we have the conference coming up in St. Louis called CRMUG Focus. Just before Microsoft Build. It's the same week, Monday, Tuesday, 8th and 9th of May. And Mr. Hobbit decided to be on the same panel I'm going to be on, which is if you are a user and you want to open your eyes and move towards the better future of being Dynamics 365 developer, how do you go about it? Is that the fair summary of what this talk is going to be about? Or panel? It's going to be a panel.
So stop by and watch Hobbit get schooled.
Pretty much, apparently. That's great to know.
Oh, I can't wait. Yes, CRMUG Focus, that's a new kind of mini conference that's coming up in St. Louis. So our good friends from CRMUG of the CRMUG Summit fame doing it. It's kind of mini conference. So for those of you who listen, take a look. I think it's ugfocus.com or .org.
This has been CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast. You can hear previous episodes on our website, crm.audio. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio, or leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CRM podcast. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you would like for us to answer on a future episode, please drop us an email at voice@crm.audio. Special thanks to Dale Simmons for our theme music. Go check out his website, dalesimmons.com. Please join us next time on CRM Audio.